a great overview of marketing, what to do, and then how to earn the money. I think this is a great overview of a lot of webinars that we've kind of combined into one to kind of talk about these different things here.
Yeah, because what's important is that people who are thinking about starting a business know that there's actually a market out there for it.
Yeah.
Something unique. When you open a sandwich shop, you're pretty sure that people eat sandwiches, right? But when it comes to doing medical billing for doctors, people have heard of it. It's been around for years and years. My wife and I, as you mentioned, we started this 25 years ago, and we're doing this for doctors. Of course, it was all on paper back then, no computers, but we did do it to the point where other people started asking us how we were doing it and why we were making the kind of money we were making. So I decided, there was probably a market for teaching other people how to do it. So we've taught about 600 people nationwide now are actually out there in our licensing network. We're the nation's largest network of independent medical billing companies.
Yep, yeah, and we are. And folks, again, we're going to show you how you can be a part of that as well. One of the things, Patrick, besides today's webinar, you wanted to put this up there about actually looking into some of the other webinars that we've done. And just, gosh, we do these 52 plus weeks a year. I mean, so gosh, yeah. We've got hundreds of webinars out there for people to go out there and get.
Yeah, you can see from the little notes, but beneath each one of those, there's one that we did a week ago. I think that was something from our training that we did a couple of weeks ago. And then there's 2 weeks ago and 1 month ago and so forth. And folks, this goes back, I mean, like he said, we've been doing them, 5 or 6 years at least, these live webinars. So there's a lot out there that you can go watch. So the point is, guys, that we can't cover every topic. Like we have some of them that are just concentrated on just marketing, exactly how you go out and talk with doctors. So that's out there. There's others where I interview successful licensees. And so those are out there as well. So today we're just focusing in on what kind of money you can make and how you actually reach those doctors that are out there.
You bet. So, kind of going back and getting started here, folks, again, we're going to talk to you about how to attract doctors, how to engage these doctors, and obviously learn more about how much money you can make about that. And Patrick, the first thing that everybody wants to know is, how does ABS help me get a doctor? Whenever you and I met, and if you can believe this, over 12 years ago, this year, you and I met, and one of the things that brought us together was somebody that we've read and studied by a guy by the name of Dr. Robert Cialdini. And yes. I put up one of his quotes up here because I think this is a great way to kind of get this kicked off this afternoon. Folks, if you haven't gotten this book here, it's called The Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion, how to do it ethically. But Patrick, I think one of the things in reference to how do you get doctors, I think this quote is the major part of what is how to get doctors ethically.
Yeah, and people who have done some marketing or sales in the past, when they come to our live training workshops, we have to tell them, look, you got to forget most of what you've learned because we do this completely differently. Marketing to doctors is just different from anything else that's out there. And one of the things that doctors are really tuned into is loss. Like this quote says, the idea of potential loss plays a large role in human decision making. And you'll see what we're talking about here as we get into the webinar. But the point is that this is one way you get engaged with people, is to help them think about what they could be losing. And doctors can be losing a whole lot if they're not engaged with you as their medical biller.
Well, he goes on to say here, in fact, people seem to be more motivated by the thought of losing something than the thought of gaining something of equal value. And a lot of times, as we're talking about how do I attract a doctor? Well, the first thing is what we're trying to do is tell them, you know what, if I take over your billing, I can get you more money. But it's got to start somewhere. And what we're talking to you about today, folks, is we got to focus on what the doctors are losing before they can figure out what they need to gain. And that's the whole science behind what ABS does about how to attract doctors. And we're going to show you one of those ways where we're going to teach you today how to use our practice analysis. Now, you can't take it, you can't get a copy of that or anything, but we're going to show you how it's used to not only attract doctors but engage these doctors, because again, Patrick, it's what the doctors are losing. They're losing more and more a month. Matter of fact, the book that you wrote some years ago on the cash crunch to cash flow, you kind of subtitled it, the money that's losing, going out of their practice. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and this may sound strange to people, but as a company, we do this a little differently. We share with you all the information that we can without giving you the exact proprietary stuff that we've developed over the years, but enough idea as to how to build this business so you know enough to make the right decision. Because you could be losing money. You invest in our licensing operation, which is about $27,000, and if you go out and do something with it, of course, you'd be losing that, right? So we're teaching you exactly how to approach the doctors. Tell them that we can show you how not to lose thousands of dollars a month. That means more to them, believe it or not, than the extra money that we can bring in for them, which is thousands of dollars as well.
So let's talk about a few things here. And Patrick, you found this quote from this doctor from the U.S. News World Magazine. There's a lot of money being lost right here with this particular doctor.
Yes. Look, here's the quote from Dr. I'll call him Dr. Vern because I can't say his last name. It says, he says, to get paid by the insurance company, I have to pay about $20 in administrative fees to collect it. Between the person that bills, the computer system, the ongoing support, it costs about $20 a claim. Now, Eric, if you ask the average doctor what they think that it costs them to do medical billing, I can tell you, I've asked that many, many times, and they'll go, oh, I don't know, $1 or $2. I mean, in their minds, it doesn't cost that much because it doesn't take much to push a few buttons and send off that claim. What they don't realize is there's hidden costs there. That's what he's talking about, all those hidden costs.
Well, yeah, I mean, if most people would think about it, if this doctor is billing out a $100 claim and he is spending $20 per claim just to get it out the door, yeah, well, folks, if I do my math right, that's 20% right off the bat.
Yeah, that's a pretty high cost of doing business. And then, of course, even though it costs him $20 a claim, what people don't realize is that a lot of those claims are submitted to the insurance companies and to Medicare. And it says here, 25 to 40% of the rejected claims are never resubmitted for payment. See, there's a huge number. Sometimes, in fact, we've got another quote, I think, that shows it's around 35% of all claims sent initially are rejected, 35% of them. Then of those, only 25 to 40% of those are ever resubmitted. I'll tell you why, Eric. I know because I used to go into a doctor's office and see the chaos that's there, that's going on, and they just don't have the time and the focus that they should have to go back and resubmit those. Why? Because today there's another 20 or 30 claims that they have to submit. So they just don't go back and resubmit it. And the doctors, of course, are told that they can write that off on their income taxes. Well, believe me, they'd rather have that money in their bank account.
Yeah, you bet. So, folks, what we're doing is showing you right now, right off the bat here, of not what we're saying, but what doctors are saying of where this money's being lost. So it could be administrative expenses. Here's the New England Journal of Medicine. They're saying 24 cents out of every dollar is wasted. So, folks, I mean, if we keep going through this is that one that Patrick was telling you about. This is from Dave Giacoleo. He writes for the HBMA, which is the Health Business Management Association. And right there, that middle paragraph, we're going to blow that up right there. He says, fast forward today, where if you don't have some sophisticated claim scrubbing software, it's not unusual to have a 35% or higher claim rejection rate. Well, folks, again, as a business person, imagine that you're sending out all your invoices. You expect to get all of your invoices paid 100% of the time. But with doctors, it's only 30, 35, it could be higher than that of never getting paid.
Yeah, now when they say, when he's talking about sophisticated claim scrubbing software, folks, that's because most of the software that's out there is not cloud-based like ours is. Ours being cloud-based means that it's in real time. And so before our claims can ever be submitted, we have scrubbed it already before it's even submitted. Then the ones that are submitted, it says it's not unusual to have 35% or higher claim rejection rate. Now that's typical. Ours is less than, are you ready for this, Eric?
Yep.
You know this. It's less than 2%. 2%, folks, 2% compared to 35% is a big difference.
That's a lot of money. And kind of going back to what Dr. Robert Cialdini is saying, people are not motivated by how much you're going to gain their money. They're motivated by what they are losing. Now, let's talk about something else about doctors and some reasons why it might attract a doctor to actually outsource. But again, we got to ask the question, why would a doctor even outsource to me? Don't they already have their own medical billers in-house? Patrick, we know that they do. But again, this is another area in which they could actually be losing money. And we've got a spreadsheet for that to kind of show that kind of breakdown. Why don't you kind of take us through this?
Yeah, now we've shown this before, but folks, if you focus in on this just for a second, get off your email, stop watching those cat videos on YouTube, and go back to your screen where we're talking about this, and you'll see we've got a slide up there that says, here's the annual cost for physician billing. Now we've got two columns there, in-house costs and outsource costs. Outsource is you. You would be charging the doctor somewhere around $31,200 based on 100 claims per week at about $100 a claim. Anyway, we did the math there. You can do that yourself and see that we're charging only 6%. By the way, that's low, right, Eric? I mean, it could be 7, 8, 9% in some cases. But even at 6%, $31,000 is all that the doctor would pay you, because all those other things listed there, the full-time employees, about 1.5 to do the billing. We've estimated payroll taxes, workers' comp insurance, errors and omissions insurance, training costs and leave coverage, and employee benefits and hardware, software, IT support. All that together is costing the doctor, bottom line, $65,100. In your case, you don't have any of those costs. You're billing him $31,200, which is pretty nice, as you'll see here in a moment how long it takes you to earn that. It's not very long. But that's 48% less expensive for him to outsource to you. So doctors think that they're saving money by doing it in-house. They're not. And this is proof. And we do this based on their own numbers, by the way, as you'll see.
That is correct. And speaking of doing things by their own numbers, now, folks, remember that our whole focus today is how to attract doctors, engage doctors, and then you make a good earning living out of doing that. And many times more than what doctors are actually earning themselves. And one of the things we're going to talk with you about here next is how to not only, it kind of falls between attract and engage, and that's just practice analysis. However, before we even go through that, don't lose heart, because in about 20 minutes, Patrick and I are going to share with you a really peek in on how you can really attract doctors by what they're losing. So don't lose focus, that thinking that we've jumped off of attraction doctors, now engaging doctors. We're going to kind of mix this up a little bit today. So just be ready and be waiting to talk about that. But one of the things, Patrick, you said is we got to use their numbers. That's where this practice analysis is coming into play. Before I turn it over to you, Patrick, folks, remember, if you've got a question, I'm monitoring that question box, so we'll do our best to answer your questions. So, Patrick, let's talk to us about the practice analysis and what this really is all about.
Yeah, so a few years ago, when my wife and I were actually starting our business, I didn't know even how to approach a doctor. I found out that what they need to do is share with you some information so that you can see if you can even help them or not. You may or may not can save them money. But what I did is I came up with some questions. Now, at first it was like a one-page thing. Now it's about 3 pages, as you can see here. But these are the questions that you will ask the doctor once you set up this appointment to go through the practice analysis. Now, I say the doctor, usually it's the office manager, right? Because they know the answers to these questions. But it's things like, what is your average number of claims that you do per day or per week? And what's the average amount of that claim, and so forth. And once you've gotten that information, you see, then you can actually prepare back at your office. You don't do it while you're there. You go back to your office and prepare what we call the practice revenue report. That's what's on the screen right now. Again, those of you who are not paying attention, you should look at this. This is what does all the, quote, selling for you. Don't you hate those dreaded air quotes, Eric? But the point is, this is no selling. This is doing it all for you. Look right here. Now, you did just now, if you're looking at this, you just did what the doctor does. You glanced right down to that bottom line, didn't you? And you see that the increased revenue per year for this particular doctor, we've redacted some information there at the top, this doctor would bring in an additional $321,765 by just switching over their billing to you as an ABS licensee. Anyway, we don't have time to go through every one of these things, but in the training class, we do in detail what each one of these means, how you get that information off of the practice analysis into this report here, and how you prepare this to show the doctor. It's just an amazing, eye-opening thing for doctors. Look, if I were a doctor, Eric, I don't know about you, but if it were half that, heck, if it was only 25% of that, I'd probably say, well, let's give this a try. It'd be worth it.
You bet. And this is doing two things. And people are going, well, Eric, you're just showing them what you can do to help them increase their revenue. Yes, but what it's also showing is what they're not collecting. If they understand right now that they are losing $26,000 a month, don't you think that they're going to try to figure out, then how are you going to get that for me? That's where you're engaging, and that's where you're leading that doctor down a path of not selling the software. And today, we're not even talking about the software. We may mention it a little bit, but so many folks, Patrick, that I know of that come through our training sometimes, they get so focused on trying to sell the software. And when we try to sell the software, we're going to lose every single time. So today, what Patrick and I are telling you is what we tell those that come to our live training class: don't focus on selling the software. Sell the doctor on what he's losing, which is his capital or his or her capital, which in this event, again, could be $20,000 to $26,000 a month. Patrick, I would like $25,000 more a month.
Yeah, that's what they're leaving on the table, so to speak. In other words, that is the loss that we're talking about. And once they realize that, they kind of go, huh, well, maybe I ought to look at what you're doing here. And then that's where you lead them into what we call our live demo of the system. And once they attend that using GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting, like we're doing here today, we share with them live for you. Our staff does a live demo of our system so they can see this for themselves and ask all the questions they want. I mean, folks, basically, you just have to have the paperwork done and ready to send to that doctor to have them sign at the end of that demo that we do for you.
Absolutely. And so, you know, what we've talked to you so far is some of the key components of why would a doctor want to even engage with you in the first place, and how are you going to attract these doctors? And again, you're going to do that with the two things that we've shown with you so far. Now let's kind of dive back into the third part of what we want to talk to you about is what kind of money can you make? Because this is important for you to grasp as well, because this could be the money that you may be losing by not doing anything. So if you think about it, what we're going to talk to you right now is what is your potential return on investment? Patrick, again, some people still ask, and why don't you go through this before we start kind of going through the income potential, go through what is the investment here at ABS, what does that cover, so what does this initial $26,990 investment, what does all that encapsulate there?
Well, just like a franchise. Now, this is not a franchise because we don't have any royalties. We don't take a percentage of all your revenue each month. There's no territorial restrictions. There's lots of differences. But the point is, there is a fee to get involved with us because we've spent a lot of money developing all the tools that we're about to show you. And that means that you are going to spend about $27,000 with your travel down here and your hotel. We figure it's probably going to be close to $30,000. Let's round that out. For $30,000, folks, there's not many businesses that you can start that has the ROI, the return on investment that this one does. I've interviewed people, Eric, live webinar interviews with our licensees who said, I got back my investment with you within 6 months, some of them a year. Folks, if you can do that in any business, get all your money invested in it back in that year's time, believe me, you're way ahead of most people, most businesses that are out there. So this is our website that Eric's showing you here. He's showing you that you would go to the income potential there at the top, and then the medical billing income calculator. That's where we're about to take you to show you what you could make. Eric, did I leave anything out there?
No, you did a great job. And I'm kind of also monitoring the questions, and Alex is saying, so well done, gentlemen. Thank you so much. We appreciate the kudos as we're going through the presentation today. And then Sheila is asking, what slide are you on? Well, we're actually on that slide right now where it talks about what is the ROI potential. You may be trying to follow it in that PDF there, so that might be helpful for you.
Slide looks like 28.
Yep, slide 28. So what we're going to do here, we're going to just deal with one doctor. And so, because everybody wants to get that first doctor. So let's say that you're working on and trying to get that first doctor. Well, how many patients does a doctor see? Well, folks, again, average, a doctor will see anywhere from 20, 25, maybe at the maximum 30 patients a day. And that's a pretty big workload. So if you think 25 patients a day and they're open 5 days a week, you're going to charge that doctor, again, like Patrick mentioned, this is on the low side, 6% of an average claim amount of $100. We're going to click that button right there where it says submit, and this is what you're going to be able to make is a total yearly gross income of $39,000 serving one practice, serving one doctor. That's $32.50 a month. This is where you can find your potential ROI. So this is how you get your return on investment with just one doctor within 1 year.
Yeah, so Eric, I tell people, look, think of that $39,000 there and then multiply that by 2 if you need to make whatever that twice of that is, 78,000, right? In other words, folks, whatever income that you currently have that you'd like to replace, you can do the math pretty easily there. And when you see how little time it takes to do and service one doctor, you'd be making that part-time. Literally, you as an individual, before you hired anybody else to help you, you could probably do half a dozen doctors at these numbers that you saw here. Now, that's why we left the numbers open for you to drop in your own numbers, folks. We're not going to tell you that everybody who gets into this business makes $78,000 a year or whatever we're going to show today. But some people make a lot more than that, too. You'll see that on the interviews that I've done with licensees. So, folks, this is, again, it's a real business. It's not a passing fad of some kinds. As long as there's sick people that go to the doctor has to get paid. Somebody has to bill somebody for that doctor to get his money. And we teach you how to do that.
And I'm going to jump over to one question I think Lisa's asking. This sounds like you are catering to smaller offices, primary care mostly. Your numbers are low. Yes, Lisa, we try to keep these numbers low for a purpose because I was just talking to one of our licensees last Friday and heard about one of our other licensees that just signed up 6 podiatrists. Well, if you take 6 podiatrists, they're not going to be averaging $100 amount of claims here. This is going to be 150 to 170, maybe 200. If you stick that number in there, these numbers just quadruple in what you're looking at there. So, Lisa, we are catering right now to our audience of just letting know if you took the lowest kind of common denominator in this approach here, obviously we don't want to blow out the numbers either. We're not trying to make it look too good. We're just trying to say, if you had one doctor that's servicing, their patients 25 a day, because we're going to kind of run through these numbers because obviously if you get to 3 doctors, what is that going to look like? So Patrick, I thought how to kind of do the math here. I thought we would just kind of work through this and to where, a lot of people like us, we have a calculator, and some people are going, oh, well, how are they getting these numbers here, and how is that all kind of working out? We're going to show you exactly how that looks like. So again, you take one doctor that sees 25 patients a day. Each of those patients, if you think of it, is valued at about $100. That's $2,500 a day for that particular doctor. Then you just take all of that, $2,500 per day for that doctor times 6%. Your average earnings are, again, going to run about $150 a day for less than 90 minutes of work a day. So, Patrick, if you think about it, that's not bad part-time work, because remember, that's $39,000 a year working less than 2 hours a day.
Yeah, now let's go back to that 6%. So you folks realize that we're just sticking a number in there. It could be 7, 8, 9%, right? We're trying to be on the low end here, so we're not blowing these numbers out of proportion. I don't know of many licensees who charge less than 6%, Eric. It might be special instances, but there may be somebody who's charging 5%. I don't know. But the point is, we're going to teach you how to price that. That's part of our training. That's part of our support after you've gone through the training, is we'll take a look at your practice analysis and give you our thoughts. That's all they are, is just our idea, our opinion as to what you ought to charge that doctor. Now, if you tell the doctor you're going to charge 6% and he goes, I don't want to do it, and you say, well, okay, if you'll give me some references, then I could do it for 5.5%. How about that? Then you see, you're not just jumping in there with a low figure, but the point is that's where we come up with the 6%.
You bet. And again, staying at that 6%, remember you're making $150 a day times 5 days a week. You take that out times 52 weeks a year. There's your $39,000 per year per doctor. So, folks, again, here we've done the math. We've gone behind the curtain, so to say, to kind of let you see how, if you want to, you can do the math, or just go back to our calculator there, and the only number we're going to change right here is that one number. Instead of one doctor, let's put in 3 doctors using the same exact numbers. Let's say that you got 2 more doctors just like your first one. Now we click on submit, and again, now you're at $117,000. And remember, that's probably less than 6 hours of work a day. So again, you're only almost grossing $10,000 a month working with 3 doctors.
Right, and you're going to have some costs. Now, this is when we say gross income, folks, that means that's the money you'll bring in. You'll bill those doctors 6% of all the money that you collect for them. You get 6% of that. That's $117,000. That doesn't mean you're going to not have some costs. If you don't have a computer, you got to buy a computer. If you don't have a cell phone, you got to buy a cell phone, and you pay your cell phone bill each month anyway, probably. You got to have an internet connection. So there's cost involved in running a business. Now, if you open an office like many of our licensees have, once they get to a certain point, then of course you've got that overhead to cost as well, rent on that office. But most of our licensees work from their home. This is a home-based business because doctors don't come to your home, you go to them.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, your overhead on this type of business is extremely low. Patrick Henry is asking a question here before we get too far, because we are at the bottom of the hour and kind of making that turn. He's asking, are you saying that doctors generally try to recoup a little bit, quote, unpaid claims through taxes in the form of write-offs, but they would rather get paid a ride? Yes, that is correct, versus the write-off. Can we compare that difference? I'm assuming that you could probably do that, Henry. I don't know if, Patrick, we've ever done that kind of comparison.
Yeah, here's the bottom line. I tell people, look, in that case that we just saw for that doctor that is going to bring in another $321,000 a year, let's say that you only came up with half of that amount for that particular doctor in your practice analysis. That's still $175,000, right? $170,000 that you could be bringing in that the doctor might just have to write off because his system doesn't know how to collect that money, whereas ours does.
Right.
Any doctor that you ask, you don't have to do a comparison. Just say, doctor, would you rather have $170,000 in your bank account this month or have that at the end of the year as a write-off on his taxes? If he's a smart guy, he could ask his CPA, and the CPA would probably tell him, there's other ways that you can write off. If you want to write off stuff, there's many, many ways to save taxes. But you'd rather have the cash in the bank account every time. They'll say that every time.
You bet. And again, kind of getting back to what we were just talking about, again, we were just talking about adding 3 offices or 3 clients, and what is that going to look like for you? Again, those 3 doctors will generate to you about $117,000. And again, kind of going back to what Lisa was asking or saying, it seems a little low. Folks, again, that could be, add one more digit in there, go from $100 reimbursement to $120 reimbursements, and then you're helping the doctor collect all their co-pays and all of that information. Folks, that can certainly start adding up. But then, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, I think everybody on here would agree that if you can go and see a doctor for $100 nowadays, that's cheap. I don't know many doctors that charge $100 to see them, because if you're there for any period of time longer than 5 minutes, it's going to be more than $100. So folks, we're trying to give you the lowest possible numbers here, so we're not blowing things out of proportion.
You bet. And then we have the ancillary services, and we've got optional out here because, folks, all of this is optional. You can use all of these or none of these, and we're actually going to showcase one of these here in just a moment, but we're going to kind of go through some of the ancillary services and kind of just take you through some of the scenarios that we know that some of our licensees have actually done. Patrick, let's talk real quickly about Quick Collect and what this does, and we'll kind of start showing some of the numbers here with Quick Collect.
Okay, but let me emphasize that when we say it's optional, all of these are included in your package. For that $27,000 fee, folks, we're not ever going to sell you anything after the fact that you've invested with us. After you've gone through the live training here, you have lifetime support. We never charge anything for the support going onward. We do webinars on a regular basis for our licensees. Those are usually done on Fridays, but we record those and we post them on the licensee website that you'll have access to. So there's no, we're not nickel and diming you on these. They're all included, but you can offer them to doctors or not offer them. That's up to you. It's your business.
Correct. Yeah. So again, Quick Collect. Patrick, kind of take us through this. What is this?
Well, this is kind of like, some doctors will turn over their uncollected money from their patients. There's lots of patients who don't have insurance, or they have a portion that they are billed for and they never pay it. Believe it or not, doctors leave about half of the money that's actually billed to patients. They write that off. They never collect it. So this takes the place of a collection agency. It's not a collection agency now. You're not going to do any calls to patients trying to collect money, folks. This is an automated service that's through our system, online, automated, completely automated, and it collects the past due accounts and brings in 3 times what the average collection agency would normally collect. Yeah, 3 times that. So we can put more money on the doctor's table from the patients that owe him money as well.
And then kind of looking at the numbers here, if you've got these 3 doctors, so we're just going to say that you kind of maximize everything else out here. But if you've got these 3 doctors that are needing 24 accounts per month, that's just think about it. That's 24 past due accounts that need to be collected on, okay? And you will earn about $7.50 per account per month. So again, if you take that 3 times 24, there you're going to get the 72 accounts. This could bring in another $540 a month of residual income, or another $6,400 a year based upon just working on that. And again, this is one of those ancillary services, Patrick, that we have that it's kind of like what we call mailbox money. It's not anything you're having to go do outside of just collecting those names, putting them in through Quick Collect, and get that process started.
Yeah, I used to call this mailbox money, because you could actually get a check that you'd go out to your mailbox and pick up. Now it can be just deposited through ACH directly into your bank account. So I don't know what you'd call it. It's ACH money. But you don't do anything for it. Once you've got this set up, folks, the system is doing all of that behind the scenes for you. You're just collecting that $540 a month with no extra effort.
Yep.
That's residual income. That's the kind you want.
And then one of the other services that can obviously be used by these doctors, and that's to help their patients be reminded of physicals coming up, or the doctor may want to send out birthday cards or something along those lines. It's just a marketing automated service that helps you with that doctor actually send cards to their patients, either again for reminders or whatever else might be going on. And again, these numbers can generate about another $7,200 a year. So again, if you've got 3 doctors with 200 patients each on this auto card, that's going to be meaning that there's 600 cards being mailed a month. That's $600 worth of revenue to you, or $7,200. Again, these are those optional things that you can utilize that are actually being utilized by some of our licensees currently. And then Patrick, you love iDocs now. I mean, you said get rid of all of our filing cabinets. We don't need those in our office, but this is really being used a lot of times for the doctors as well.
No, in fact, if some of you do come down and visit us at our offices, ask Hannah, who's in the front office there, ask her to show you our file cabinets. And she will look at you like, what are you talking about? We don't have file cabinets. Folks, we are truly paperless. As much paper as would normally be in a business like ours, we don't have papers because we use this system ourselves to upload all of our paper documents to the cloud. Now, this is much more than just a storage, though. This is an actual management system. You can search for, you can print, you can email, you can actually literally search for keywords in any document in your entire file cabinet out there in the cloud. And so that allows you to offer a secure cloud-based storage solution for doctors for all their past files. You see that picture there of all those files in a doctor's office there? Those are the things we can completely eliminate. And some doctors Eric, have whole rooms that they've set aside just for their paper files. Imagine digitizing all that so they can access it from anywhere, anytime, and not just one person, but several people at one time can be looking at a document. It's fantastic. I always think of the poor businesses and people there in Louisiana when that hurricane hit. Those businesses were wiped out probably that just had paper. If they had had our system, they could have literally just gone to another computer in a different city and accessed all of their documents from the cloud using our HIPAA compliant system here.
You bet. And folks, just think about this. Again, those doctors have to keep those records on file for 7+ years. But then I want you to remember that last part of that is 100% HIPAA compliant, because we told you that we're going to share a little bonus with you here in a moment. And folks, everybody that's on this call today, you've walked into a doctor's office and you've seen these files all over the place.
Yeah.
If that particular doctor's office would go through an audit, they're going to be in trouble. Get that out of their office, get it on a secured platform like this, iDocs Now. What can you make out of it? Again, you can make some residual income with those same 3 doctors. Again, it's not a lot, but it's money in your pocket. That's another $3,600 with you per year. Audit Guard, and again, there's a question that came up here about do we train in billing and coding? I think that was Melissa. Do you teach us how to retrieve doctors as well? Yes, and some of it, Melissa, we're not going to teach you how to do coding. That's a school that you have to go to, take 2 to 3 years to get through that. That's why we have Audit Guard and CodeWrite. This is where you can use our certified medical coders, and then because you're using our certified coders, you could again be additionally putting another $10,000 a year into your pocket. Remember, that's on those 3 doctors that you're making 117 on. We're going to add all that up here in just a moment, but there are going to be some times where those doctors need coding or audit transcriptions and stuff like that for their codes. That's where all of this is coming into play.
Yeah, folks, we're trying to cram a lot here into these slides. You should ask the person that sent you the email coming to this webinar to go into detail with you on any one of these particular products that we're talking about here, because I know it's overwhelming. Hey, Eric, I want to address just a couple of quick questions here so we can make sure we get through them all. Gloth says, do you role play live with your licensees? Yes. Gloth, we actually have coaches that can get online with you and go through anything after the live training. But in the live training, we actually bring in laptops. We let you get on those laptops. You'll actually be doing things. That's how you learn, right? By doing things. And so in the workshop, it really is a workshop where you'll learn how to do all that and can practice right there. Don says, do you have any need for liability insurance? Don, there is a thing called errors and omissions. Just ask your insurance agent about E&O, they call it, errors and omissions. And that's the type of insurance that some people have. Now, I don't know many licensees that have actually taken that out, Eric, but if you wanted to feel comfortable about that, it's very inexpensive. It covers you for like up to $1 million. And it's just what it sounds like. It's for any errors and omissions, not intentionally trying to, defraud the government or something like that. It doesn't cover for that, of course. Let's see. Ashley says, is there a pre-existing software or tool that helps in determining which practices are currently outsourcing versus which practices house in-practice billers? What other companies outsource? Oh, well, Ashley, I think what you're asking about is other companies that might be in your area that do outsource the billing for the doctors and do the billing. There's probably dozens of them, to tell you the truth, in any given area. But there are also hundreds, maybe thousands of doctors that are in your area as well. So you can't oversaturate this. We can't even keep up with the number of doctors that are graduating every year. And as far as knowing which doctors outsource and which don't, Eric, I don't know of anything that's like that. I've actually searched. There is no way to know that for sure, unless you went to Medicare and said, can you tell me everybody that bills Medicare? They might have some information on that. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't even know if they would know that, but there's no scrubbing or pre-existing figuring out what type of doctors, whether they're outsourcing or doing it in-house. Patrick, let's kind of wrap this up, and then we can get back to some more of these questions because we know we want to get to that last little piece there. But you take everything that we've shown you so far, and again, use those optional ancillary services, and you kind of combine and bundle all these together. And again, with those three doctors, again, a lot of this is residual income that you're not having to do anything for except get the doctor signed up on those. That's $152,000 total for those three doctors. And again, that's sort of low, but you are at that mark where you're just about making what a lot of some of these doctors that you're doing billing for, that's about what they're bringing in. So a doctor, a family practitioner is going to make anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 a year. But remember, they're working from sun up to sundown, and that's about as maximum they can make. You can maximize this and expand this and grow this business to whatever level you want. So easily, you're going to make a doctor's type of salary. Patrick, I know that there's a few questions here that I know you want to get to, but let's, with the time that we have, let's talk one more time about how to engage with a doctor. And I wanted to bring this quote back in here because I wanted to remind everybody about Dr. Robert Cialdini and what he said about people are more motivated by what they're losing versus what they gain. And how does that come into play? HIPAA. HIPAA is a big thing. And I brought this little ticker in here with this website that people can go to right now. This was dated May the 6th, 2019. So that was just last week, last Monday.
Yeah.
This company, Tennessee Diagnostic Medical Imaging Service Company, pays $3 million to settle breach exposing over 300,000 patients' protected health information.
Man, if I were the owner of that company, that'd be a bad day to hear that you owe $3 million to settle because they expose patient data. Now, this is an imaging company, but folks, doctors get penalized like this all the time. If you go to that website, you'll check it out. You'll find that there's lots and lots of articles out there, Eric. I think you have some pictures of some other articles just on this topic here. Yeah.
Yeah, just one after the other. And you can see that if it's not what you see there with that one, it could be cybersecurity, it could be ransomware attacks on a doctor's office, anything, data breaches of any sorts. And folks, it could be simple enough that they did not create what's called a business associate agreement with all of their vendors. So imagine all of those sales reps that are coming into a doctor's office, if they don't have a certain document in place that allows that company to come into their doctor's office, they too could be fined. So what does that mean? That every doctor's office that you could throw a rock at, you could go in there today and ask this simple question. Patrick, that simple question is I'm here today to talk to your compliancy officer. Who might that be? What do you know that response is going to happen, Patrick?
Well, they're probably going to look at one another like, are we supposed to have a compliance officer? They don't.
And folks, everybody that's on the call, this is where you want to pay attention because every doctor's office has to have a compliancy officer. Now, it could be the office manager, it could be somebody else, but every doctor has to have one. So what every doctor should know about what's called the Omnibus Rule, folks, this is the goal. The new rules are applying to doctors right now. For healthcare providers and IT compliant companies, it's all about compliance. Non-compliance can bring stiff penalties. And Patrick, I don't even think you knew this until today, but it's from the Office of the Civil Rights and the Department of Health and Human Services. Folks, the Office of Civil Rights is the enforcement agency for HIPAA for the Department of Health and Human Services. And they are going after people right now. And Texas is the biggest one that they're going after. So folks, this is every doctor's office needs this. And why are we saying this? Because it will help you get into a doctor's office to build trust with that doctor right off the bat. We just so happen to have Compliancy Guard. Why don't you talk to us about that as we kind of start wrapping up this hour, Patrick?
Yeah, so this is one of the flyers that you can use, folks, that we've designed to talk about this particular service. And remember, this is one of only of about 8 different services that you can offer, right? Those ancillary services we talk about. So here's an example as to how you can use these services to get your foot in the door. Sometimes doctors think that they have their billing under control. they don't have any need for what you're talking about as far as outsourcing their billing, but they certainly need to be protected against all those fines that they could be fined by Medicare. So we sometimes approach them on this basis here. Now, once you've got your foot in the door with this service, helping the doctor's office stay compliant with the HIPAA rules and regulations, you see, now you're a part of the inner circle, right? You've gotten past the glass, right? That bulletproof glass out there, you get past that into the doctor's office, and you're a part of their practice, helping them to, again, save on all those potential fines that they could be facing.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is one of those things, folks, this is mailbox money. And what we know is that every doctor's office that you could stand in your neighborhood, you could literally walk into any of those and ask for what we just said, and then start getting people signed up. And we are the ones that actually will do a webinar for them, help them understand specifically what's going on with them, get them on board, get them going. And then, like Patrick said, you're going to build that trust, because we all know that people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And if you help that doctor save their career, you're going to build trust. And then again, you can start talking to them about doing the practice analysis. So it's putting all these pieces together of how we help you get out there and market your business.
Well, Melissa says she says, I like residual income. All right.
And so you go from this, stop at the door, to this. Please come tell me how we can save our practice with this one service that we shared with you about that.
Yeah, it's a huge difference between the way some people market medical billing to doctors and the way we teach our licensees. So he's right. We have doctors who raise their hand and say, yes, I'm interested in what you've got. Come on in and let's talk. That's different from what most people think that they're going to do when they go out and market to doctors. We teach about a dozen different ways in our workshop as to how to market. And those are ways that we've been proven over the last 25 years actually work. And we have licensees who teach some of our webinars, in fact, that are telling you exactly how they use these methods to get their first clients. That's one of the questions we have here, by the way, from, let's see, Alex. He says, what's the most number of doctor clients that a licensee has signed up? Eric, I don't know of anybody that's signed up more than 300 doctors. We do have a licensee,
Right.
Up in the New York area that signed up over 300. So, Alex, I would have to actually go back literally and see if there's some that are more than that. But yes, you can build this as big as you want. But Alex, at the same time, you can keep it as small as you want too. I have licensees that's been with us for years, and they only have a handful. I mean, literally just a handful of doctors that they handle themselves, all of the billing. They don't have any employees, and they work at the top of a mountain riding horses. You know who I'm talking about, Eric?
Yeah. Yeah.
In Utah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Patrick, I don't know if we missed this one from Byron. Byron, you asked a question, do we technically have a license? If you want to clarify that question, we don't want to misrepresent what your question's asking. So if you want to retype that in there, you can.
Yeah, Byron. All right, let me just attempt, Eric. Byron,
okay.
A license, when you think of a license, sometimes you think of, okay, I'm a hairdresser or a barber. I need a license to do that, right? There is no license that's issued by the government or any government agency, state or federal, that licenses you to be a medical biller. What we do is we license our entire system, our marketing system, all of our marketing materials. We license our cloud-based system to you. And so that's what we're talking about when we talk about a licensee situation. That's different from a franchisee. But anyway, what we do though is at the end of the training, we give you a certificate that certifies you as a revenue manager. In other words, a medical revenue manager. That's the certification that you get. And so it's called Certified Medical Revenue Manager. That's CMRM. And you can put those letters after your name on your business card and other literature, because we've certified you at that point once you've gone through our training.
You bet. Yeah. Daniel's asking, once we get a doctor interested, do you help us close the sale to the doctor's office? And yes, we do. That's one of the and just like what we were showing with you with the compliancy guard, we will either get on the phone with you or through a go-to meeting or whatever, but we do a live demonstration. After you do that practice analysis, we're the ones that are help you, if you want to talk about it, close the sale to that doctor. So you're not out there by yourself. So many people ask, Patrick, why would I ever go with American Business Systems? That's Daniel just nailed it right there. It's because we're the one, we've teamed up with you to help you close those deals. Because again, Patrick, if you want to share this, we make a little bit of money or income on the back end ourselves. That's why we don't have a franchise fee.
Yeah, Eric, why don't you show that picture of all the services, the flyers for all of them? Because folks, basically what we do is we actually make a few pennies on the back end on all of the services that you offer to doctors. So you see, we as a company have residual income. So after you've paid the initial licensing fee of $27,000, you've gone through our live training workshop, you have the lifetime support and the lifetime access to our website for licensees. Beyond that, we make money every time you go out and sell any of these services to doctors. Now, it's just pennies, but those pennies mount up. And so we're interested in you helping you get as many doctors as possible signed up on as many services as possible so that we have a residual income on the back end as well.
You bet. Absolutely.
Don says,
yep. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was going to read Don's here. He says, does Quick Collect charge a percentage of what they collect? Do we still get our 6%? Actually, Don, the 6% now is on the money you're collecting for the doctor for his billing, right? The medical claims. The money that you make on all these different services are based on the fees that those doctors pay to access and use those services. And yes, you make money on all of those services, but it's not taken out of your 6%.
Yeah, you bet. Lisa's asking the question about the storage, the iCloud storage. Yeah, she's going to scan in the medical records to an iCloud storage. So are there records coming from if there are no EMR? That is correct, Lisa. You know, even if a doctor goes to an EMR system, they still have all of their paper charts that they need to house somewhere. So instead of having a physical area where they host all of that, or in their office, or even outside their office, that will all be in the cloud. So it's separate from their EMR, electronic medical record system. However, you know, once they're now in the EMR, that becomes the new storage there as too. So it sounds like you got a little bit of knowledge about some medical billings. I can see by, you know, some of the technical parts that you're asking, including your question there about meaningful use. Is MIPS now? Yes, that is correct. It is MIPS, which again, do not get everybody off of an understanding. You know, that's on that HIPAA compliancy part of it. We make sure that the doctors are compliant in those specific areas of how they're supposed to be doing all of their charting and everything else. What's next when you got there, Patrick, for us?
Okay, let's see. Henry says, sorry, a sensitive question here. He says, if ABS does the demo for the doctors instead of us, the licensees, is not, if the doctors, what he's saying, if not, the doctors will go directly to ABS instead of us, the licensees. Well, Henry, that's a great question, and we get that all the time. Why don't you just sign up all the doctors yourself as a company? But Henry, here's the thing. We don't do medical billing. As a company, all we do is train and support people like yourself. Now, at one time, my wife and I did do medical billing. We shut that business down, basically sold all of our accounts and got out of that once we started licensing what we do, because I just felt like we'd be in competition with our licensees. There is a company out there, by the way, who does something similar to what we do. They have their own software that they wrote 25 years ago, and it comes on a CD that you install on your computer. It's not cloud-based, but they actually do medical billing, and they're in competition with their own licensees. So we just don't believe that that's the way we should run the company. And so you can do the demos yourself, of course. We do those just as a service to our licensees. Yeah.
Don's asking, do we pay once for the license? Any annual renewal fees? No renewal fees. It's a one-time $26,990. Tree says, great webinar. Gosh, we're up at the top of the hour. Patrick, if you want to kind of hang on here. I know some people have to get off of here at the top of the hour. So if you want to hold on, we generated a lot of questions towards the end. I'm going to get to the last few slides here. So Patrick, why don't you share real quickly about the money back guarantee for those that do have to go here at the top of the hour, and then we'll maybe jump back in here with some more of these questions.
Yeah, folks, this is our guarantee, just as it is in the agreement that you sign with us when you sign up with us. It says if at the end of the training workshop, for any reason or no reason at all, you do not think this business is right for you, simply tell any staff member and they'll arrange for you to receive a full refund of your license fee. Now, I don't know how to be more fair than that, Eric. I don't know of any company that's willing to do that. You literally sit through our training and get all of our proprietary information that we teach, and still can get every penny of your money back at the end of the training. Now, all you can't get back, of course, is what you spent to get down here to Texas, and of course the hotel stay, which is about $700 for the week. So you're out that, but folks, that's very little to invest to find out if something is as real as we say it is. And you'll know, believe me, about halfway through the week, you'll know whether it's real or not.